Hello and welcome to another episode of Behind the Scenes. Today I am joined by Sara Wilkins. Hello, Sara.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Meet you. They call me Stepney, and this is Behind the Scenes. Between myself and Mike, we do our little show here, and we've got the wonderful Sara Wilkins. Sara, first of all, good evening. You are in England, I assume?
I'm actually in Switzerland.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, there you go. First shock of the day, Switzerland. What's happening there?
So, I'm Swiss, originally Swiss, and I spend the time between England and Switzerland. My production company is based in the two, so I'm kind of constantly hopping back and forth. You'll find me quite a lot either at Gatwick Airport or Geneva Airport. It's kind of like my second and third home, really.
And what's your production company called? I know what it's called, but people don't. So introduce your company for us, please.
Yeah, so I'm the founder and director of Richlas Productions, which is a film production company. At the moment, we make short films, but it was founded on the goal of making films that raise awareness of important social issues such as mental health, whilst putting women at the heart of the stories and telling stories that just inspire and entertain people. So that's what we do at the moment. And Richlas is kind of a made-up word that inspired a little bit by Twilight when they merged the mums' names together. I thought it could be fun to merge my two grandfathers' names together, and so we've got Richlas, which very unique.
It is, and I suppose it's a good name because, as you say, it combines names of two family members. So it obviously has a lot more meaning to you than say something you just made up or come up with. So you own your own production company, and we know the name of it now. We know who you are, but we don't know who you are. Can you, in as many words as you possibly can, this is usually an open question for you to just talk to me a bit more. Who are you? Who is Sara Wilkins? Explain your journey so far.
Excellent question. I often find myself asking that, who is Sara Wilkins? The core of me is I'm a creative. I'm a filmmaker, a director, producer. Born in Switzerland, born in England, raised in Switzerland, actually. Grew up speaking English and French, and just living life, being chaotic, trying to push boundaries and just create as much as possible. And I think that's kind of me in a nutshell. Creative and chaotic are two great words to describe me.
And how did you get to being creative and chaotic? Where did it all start?
I mean, literally my entire life. It sounds really, really cliche, but my one of my grandfathers, Douglas Wilkins, he worked in the entertainment industry. He worked at ITN as a sound operator, and he also was a camera operator as well. And so he really brought me into the chaos of the entertainment industry. And as long as I can remember, I kind of grew up in that world and had stories about, some of the greatest people in the film world and the most incredible directors. And, he was involved quite early on with Cubby Broccoli, who went on to do, the James Bond franchise. And so kind of growing up with that, inspiration, your first-hand stories, I think really threw me into the chaos and creativity in the film world, which is two great words to describe the film world. And then, just ended up being roped into it, did a bit of training as an actor in England, and then went on to the USA, and then finished up in France, and just been, trying to navigate the world and the creative industry, and trying to put my own spin on it.
And what do you prefer, being in front of the camera or behind it?
Oh, behind, 100%. It wasn't something that I thought I would end up doing. I was convinced I'd be an actor, and then it's very hard to get opportunities as an actor. There's a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of closed doors, and so I did struggle, and I thought, well, if I can't get jobs as an actor, I'm going to make my own jobs. And I got together a group of friends and said, right, we're making a short film. No idea what it's about, no idea how we're going to do it. let's just give it a shot. Why not? And then I, ended up picking up the camera, doing a bit of directing and producing naturally from, putting it all together. And then I was like, oh, this is nice. I like this. This is very fun. And I guess I haven't looked back. I mean, I'll never say no to acting because I absolutely adore it. And I think it's the funnest thing to do. And it's just so nice to not be yourself for a little bit. It's nice to kind of, where someone else is, in for a time being, change your life a little bit, do crazy, cool things. But yeah, it's one of those things that you just fall into and you're like, this feels right.
And how long have you been producing your own films? How long has the production company been there?
Literally since the pandemic. We a little bit unfortunate timing. Started up in the October. Made my first short film, and it came out in a festival in Berlin Liftoff in February 2020. And then 1 week later, Europe shut down. So we've been going since the pandemic, and I'm very thrilled to say going strong, which, we're luckier than most, for sure.
That's, I've spoken to a few people, and it has been a bit of a change going from business as usual to the pandemic, and either changing their course of what they were doing or having to adapt to their, to the pandemic. And it seems like you've adapted well, and you've been successful, which is great to hear. It's always interesting to find out where people have started from, because those are the stories that are missed. Those are the background stories of somebody, and going from Holland, Paris, Germany to do you're basically a globetrotter. And it's always good to hear people's backgrounds, because like I said, these are the stories that are missed that you don't get to hear every day. And it helps to inspire others to go, okay, well, you know what, it's just, I need to just focus, create a bit of chaos, and go for it.
Exactly. Everyone has to start somewhere. I mean, my first job in the industry was literally holding a plug socket up, because it was like an extension cable, and we couldn't let it touch the ground because it would overheat. So I think I spent about an hour just holding a plug socket. So, you do have to start somewhere. And it's always good to tell those little stories, because there's a trajectory, there's a journey, you have to go on it.
And I'm going to lead into this one, and hopefully I've not added it too early, because the first one sort of hopefully is like more of an icebreaker, and this one I think I'm just going to ask it anyway. Let's get it in. It's on the bottom there. If you could ask anyone one question, what would it be, and what would that question be? Now, I've gone with this only for one particular reason, and it is more to do with we've gone straight in. So I want you to think about it, and it doesn't have to be somebody in your field of work. It could be, you can say, I've always wanted to ask this particular animator, or Jeff down the road, or Karen from number 36. What would that one question be, and why would you ask it?
Oh goodness. Well, who I would ask it to would 100% be Peter Jackson, who I'm obsessed with. I think he's just the most brilliant mind and creative. And to be honest, I think the question that I would ask him is, just share, how did you do it? Share your, words of wisdom. How did you, I'm fascinated with how he brought New Zealand onto the map for being a film world. And, in Switzerland, it's a very, very small industry, very small country in itself. And, it's, how did he bring New Zealand to the map? How did he get Lord of the Rings to be, what it is? And I'm a huge film nerd when it comes to that. So I think that would be my question, is how can I do the same with Switzerland? Peter
Jackson is a good one. And yeah, it's interesting that you've gone on to say that, mention Switzerland there, and it's small. I can honestly tell you, I don't know many Swiss films. So why don't you tell me a bit more about the Swiss film industry from your experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely little industry in the sense that everyone kind of knows everybody, so there's more of a familiarity around it, and it's very much about like co-pros as well. There's a lot of people who are kind of reaching out with France, Germany, Italy. Those are our three main languages in the country, so there's a lot of international collaboration, which is quite nice as well, because you're always mingling with people who come from different countries, different backgrounds, which is always nice. And yeah, there's a few films that I think we've made it out quite a bit. We do make it to some big festivals as well. Like I know that Berlinale this year had quite a few Swiss films being shown there, and Swiss Films, which is kind of like an organization in the country that, you know, they're kind of the nucleus, I guess I'd say, of the film industry, and they were repping us there. But it's small, but we're here for sure.
And how would you describe the industry? Is it more action? Is it more drama? Is it more thriller? Is it more comedy? How would you describe that the industry there?
I mean, it's a mix. Animation's quite a big one. We had a film, I think in English it's translated to My Life Zucchini, I think it's called. And it's a French animated film made by a production company that's not too far from where I'm from, called Helium Films, and they made it to the Oscars, and that's, you know, really brought the animation scene on the map. And I think in general, from my experience from being from the French side, we have a lot of murder mysteries, a lot of thrillers. That's something you see, a lot of police dramas as well on the TV, and, you know, a lot of things like that, and a lot of family kind of movies, you know, family dramas. They also make an appearance on the cinema, so we've got a little bit of everything. But yeah, I'd love to see more comedic stuff. I feel like this, you know, it's just it would lend itself. The world that Switzerland is, it's such a fun and interesting country with many stories to tell. So I'd love to see you know, more comedy. I'd love to see more, you know, fantasy. We've got some really cool legends in Switzerland, you know, some really nice stuff if you're into the fantasy genre that, you know, you could kind of play on, a little folk tale. So yeah, I'd love to see more of that. I'll do my best to try and, you know, lean into that as well and see what I can do. But yeah, in general, for other creators here, I'd love that. Yeah.
If you could get into the fantasy arena, I mean, I was never always a big fan, or I didn't realize I was a big fan of the fantasy era, of the fantasy side of things, so the sci-fi, and then slowly I sort of started to think, oh no, maybe I do have more of a liking for it than I do. And then Game of Thrones happened, and then I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, this is something I could watch. Let's think. Okay, so hold on. What's happening here? Let's think. Okay, here we go. You've been doing this now since the pandemic. What has been your most challenging experience so far?
Oh, I think not really knowing what's going to happen and being surrounded by people who also don't really know, you know, what's going to happen. I think that was at the very beginning was very intimidating and challenging for me, because, you know, normally when you start off, you get to go to people who've got a lot of experience and say, kind of, help me out here, you know, how should I play this, how should I navigate it? And you know, because we were in such a unique and you know, very complicated time, it was yeah, you went to people with a lot of experience to say, help, advice please, and then everyone else was saying, yeah, I'm asking other people the same thing, I don't really know. So that was definitely challenging, but I think it was you know, if you're going to start off and do something, you might as well jump into the deep end, and you learn very quick. So, you know, whilst challenging, it was very very educative for sure.
Okay, this goes into my next one. So what sort of skills did you gain during this challenging experience? So, you know, obviously you're startup and you're brand new and you're facing the pandemic. There's all these challenges and restrictions in place. What skills have you learned that you're using going forward that you think you may not have learned, do you think?
I think the power of social media. It sounds really bizarre because I'm Gen Z, so I should be very much like within that social media kind of sphere. But I'm probably the most like grandmother out of all of my friendship groups. So yeah, I think the power of social media and digital reach that you can have, and being able to use that as a way to connect with people, not only in the industry but also connect with audiences, connect with people who have more experience in the industry you wouldn't necessarily meet because you don't really mingle in the same circles. So I think that's and it is social media and being able to use it for to help your brand, to help yourself, to help others as well. It is a skill in itself. And so I think definitely that has been a big skill for me personally, being the grandmother that I am.
It's social media is one of those things where to learn and to navigate how to use it well is, as you said, it's a skill in itself. And there are not many people, including me. I find social media fascinating, but I've never found it fascinating enough to just go, oh yeah, let me just let me work out how everything works to make it work, if you see what I mean. It's only now that I'm starting to go, yeah, you know what, this whole social media thing, because I just used it for personal reasons. All before I used it for personal reasons and just to have fun, basically.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that, as you said, you're Gen Z, and I can't remember what I am. I'm 40, so 41. So I think I'm millennial.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I don't follow this sort of stuff. I try keeping up, and then as you see, I'm old anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's always crazy to see how the different age groups interact with on social media, and if you can work out how to use it, I mean, it opens up so many opportunities and possibilities. And it's good to hear that you've been working with people and getting the right sort of feedback and right sort of help along the way.
And it's so fun as well to use it and to talk to people. Like I over the last few years built up a Twitter following, and I love logging on and chatting with people and hearing about their day and hearing what they're up to, whether they're in the industry or not in the industry. It's always fascinating to just chat with people and just see how's everyone doing.
It's always good to talk. There used to be a saying over here for a long while. Bob Hoskins, I think it was, which would say it's good to talk. It was a BT advert back in the olden days, when people used to use landline phones. So we talked about the challenges. What would you say has been one of your best experiences? What's been one of your best experiences so far?
Oh gosh, so many amazing experiences. I think within Richlas, I think just getting the first film to be made and shown was the most emotional roller coaster and like such a amazing experience, and has just been so fun in every way. Stressful but fun, and so that will always for me kind of be like the highlight. Even I'm hoping that Richlas will go on to do a lot of bigger projects, bigger things, and get out there in the world, and I'm looking forward to that. But for me, regardless of what happens next, the first little advances into the world of film will always be very, very precious to me. And then best experience I think in my career so far is I got to work on the film Rocket Man for a little bit, and just being on that set and working with the incredible cast, and also the director, Dexter Fletcher was just just a champion. He's just awesome. that was I think shaking hands with Dexter Fletcher and having a little chat on a set was I think probably a career highlight so far.
That's that's fantastic, because I interviewed I had one of these talks with Elton John's lead guitarist's one of his sons, one of Davy Johnson's sons, and I had him on. I've had him on the show, so it's again, it's small world, big connections. It's crazy how these things work out. But yeah, he's an absolute star. He's an absolute gem, and it's good to see these little connections, because indirectly you're connected, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, it's a small world.
It's a small world, but a big industry at the same time. I want to show you something, and hopefully you can tell me a little bit more about it. Let's go to this. Okay, let's add this here. It's taking a bit of time. Oh, what's happened there? Let's try that again. Technical effort, technical difficulties. It is okay. It's loading up. Here we go. So this should be. Can you see that one?
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about it. What is happening here?
So that's still from my recent short film, In Her Shoes, that I wrote and directed. And it's a very pivotal moment. The film is was made to raise awareness of violence against women and vulnerability. And so this is our main character, Aaliyah, played by the wonderful Leona Lutz, who is walking home from a party, and it's the moments before unfortunately she gets attacked, and it was a really pivotal scene. It was a scene that we wanted to treat with a lot of delicacy and make sure that everyone on set was comfortable, particularly the actors, and that also when we showed it on the screen that it wasn't too offensive, too upsetting for viewers, and just handled in a delicate manner. And lighting for us was really key. And one of the reasons why I love this particular bit is because I really wanted to play on the red light element of it. In one hand, it's for her it represents danger. It's red. It's like a stop sign. And then the flip side of that is in this scene before we meet the villain of the film, the guy, as he's called, played by the wonderful Theo Marceau. He sees her very much as just an object, and so this red light represents a red light district, and and he's seeing her as nothing more than that. So it was really a subtle message, subtle meaning, but it was really important to me to have that like vibrant red, and it took a while. It took a little bit of time to get the right balance. But yeah, I loved shooting this. We shot it in this time last year, actually, in a very, very cold alleyway about 2:00 in the morning. So it was worth it. It was definitely worth it.
It's interesting you talk about lighting, because it is one of the things that to us viewers usually we don't always take so much notice of it, but it sets the scene, as you said. It creates the atmosphere. It creates happening, and
it really does. Yeah, I mean, I'm a massive fan of lighting, and I spend most of my time kind of looking through Pinterest of different lighting things, and I love like hidden meanings and having things that you probably wouldn't notice as a viewer or think about as a viewer, but like as a director, I just love adding in those little things because it just adds to the ambience. And if people realize it, then great, amazing. But if not, then it just it just adds to the feeling. And we've got a wonderful score in the background to this that was composed by Anton Sedman, and he really got it to be chilling, and the type of feelings that make you want to just scream at your screen, like run, go, walk quicker.
Why are you going that way?
Yeah. Turn around.
Let's move on to this one, and this one is it's a little collage here, and it's as you said, you started as COVID started. So tell us a bit about this little collage of pictures, please.
So this is basically me repping Black Magic Camera brand, but no, it's when I started off, I basically, roped in all my friends and family and said, let's film things. And so if it wasn't a short film, then it would be little videos here and there. So we've got on the top left-hand corner, it's my friend Will, who's an actor who I roped into filming a scene that was kind of a take on Alice in Wonderland. And then the one next to it is kind of me just fiddling around with the camera and trying to understand it a little bit more. And then the bottom two pictures are from a music video shoot that I did for my friend Marsha, who's an aspiring singer-songwriter. And yeah, basically she said, I've written a song. And I said, great, when are we filming? So we got filming, and in the first picture on the bottom right, it's actually me and my dad, who was roped into the shoot as my assistant director. And then and then there's the Marsha, the wonderful singer as well, who's in the picture. So yeah, it's kind of the beginning for me. It's any chance I got to film, even if it wasn't a film, even if it's probably not going to be seen by the public, but yeah, it's kind of, for me as a director, that was really my starting point, was, you know, using the people I had around me to try and have fun and, you know, create things. And we all had a good time, which is the main thing. And we learned, well, I personally learned a lot, and I hope that the people my friends and family who joined in on the journey also learned a little bit and had a good time as well. So yeah, that's the beginning of the journey.
It's what you're saying here is you've kept working. You know, that's hard for some people to do, especially in your particular type of industry. But you've made things work for you, and you've got family members working too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, very, very much. That's what family is for. You love them, they love you, and every so often they get roped into participating in a film shoot or being an extra. It's kind of the hidden role.
That's brilliant. We're going to move on to the next slide, and I've done these in a different order to probably what you were thinking, but explain this. This is quite a picture.
Yeah, so this is also from my latest film, In Her Shoes. It's another still, and yeah, it was the most beautiful location. We filmed it on the lake shore of Lausanne, which is a beautiful city in Switzerland. And yeah, we've got on the left we have Alana Burns, who plays one of our lovely characters, and then we've got next to her Leona Lutz, who's Aaliyah. So Aaliyah and Maddie, they're the two friends, and yeah, Aaliyah this is in the aftermath of her attack, and she's, you know, really struggling to come to terms with what's happened and doesn't really know how to process it. Her friend Maddie noticed that she's a little bit off, and is encouraging her to kind of lift the lid on what she's been going through, and just kind of talk, and you know, not feel alone, not feel like, you know, everything has to be trapped inside. And so when it came to filming this scene, you know, we really wanted to have kind of an open location. So the university that we filmed at, the alleyway scene, everything prior to that, this moment was very enclosed, very, you know, dull in terms of color, very dull, you know, just felt very claustrophobic or intense. And then for this scene, yeah, I just really wanted it to feel like, you know, not only was the character lifting a lid on what she's been going through and just kind of letting it all out, but she's also in a very open space, you know, the never-ending sky, the lake that goes on, the mountains that, you know, just rise up into the sky. And it's kind of, you know, the blue is her sadness, and you know, the open space is her relief from letting that go. And you know, having a friend there, you know, it just shows the importance of having a good friend around you, and you know, they're there for you, and you're there for them, and then it's a beautiful thing. And yeah, it was a really lovely moment. And yeah, the two girls are just incredible actresses, and so fortunate to have them in the film, because they gave it their all. And yeah, the scene behind filming this, yeah, it was a very, very public area. So showing up there, we did get permission and everything to film, but we didn't, obviously weren't able to close the roads off and interrupt the main port that was near there. So yeah, behind the camera was a sea of people. You know, more, you know, behind the crew was a lot of spectators, which was funny, and also, you know, because they were, it's very emotional. They were crying and, you know, getting very distressed, and so it was, you know, trying to contain our laughter. And also we shot this at a different time to the alleyway scene. So this actually ended up being shot in the summertime in June. because it took that long to get permission to film there. And yeah, it was very, very hot, and for continuity's sake, we had to keep them in the same outfits they were wearing prior to this scene, so they were absolutely dripping. And this was the final scene that we shot in the film before we wrapped. And yeah, when we did wrap, we just all jumped in the lake because it was so hot.
If ever a still described a scene that you just described, it's this still, and you described it beautifully, and this scene looks beautiful. It's the blue, it's the background, it's open, it's everything you said, and to describe a still in that way gives you so much depth. Yeah, wonderful. That looks absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. And then we've got this one. We've got the poster.
Mm-hmm. We've got the poster. We've got the laurels.
That's a great picture. I do like a well taken picture, and that's another great picture. Yeah, tell us about this.
So I mean, we did a little photo shoot after the film to just get some stuff for stills and also some potential poster ideas, because I always work on a poster kind of after the film. It's very not particularly the right order, but it just, for me, I always do it because I know more about the feeling of the film once it's shot. And yeah, so we got this wonderful picture of Leona and her eyes. And originally the photo was more of like half her face. And then, I was just playing around a little bit. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be fun to just zoom into her eye and, see, the film's very much about, Aaliyah's perspective. It's how she sees things. It's a female gaze, but it's also, through the eye of a survivor. And so I thought, wouldn't it be fun to just zoom in and then stick the guy's face in the eye? So we ended up just doing a zoom in, making it look really, high quality, and then getting a still from the scene where she's attacked. And we kind of just cut around the face of Teo, and we stuck it in her eyes. So it kind of represents the fact that she's constantly reliving that event. She's constantly seeing his face from that moment, and nothing else. And I think it sums up the film very well. It sums up the journey that the character has been on, and it also, before seeing the film, it kind of gives you a little bit of a hint of what's to come.
It's in the details, and like I said, it's a beautiful picture. And for those of us that can actually see this poster, because obviously some people will be listening to this via Spotify or whatever, you've got to have a look at it. I'll post it up on the YouTube and stuff like that, so that people can have a closer look. And yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful picture. Thank you for sharing those with us. How have you found that whole experience making that film? Like I said, you said it was emotional, and you've got to be sensitive, and you've got to make sure that it's sensitive not just to the actors that are actually portraying this, but also to the viewers as well. How was that? How did you find that journey?
It was tough to make sure we got the right balance between being authentic and showing the truth, but not showing too much. And also leaving some stuff to people's imagination, because one of the things that for me I was very adamant about when writing the film is I didn't want to fill in all the details. I wanted people to kind of put their own twist on it. Maybe some people relate to the story, maybe some people have seen other people go through this, and so being able to allow room for oneself to be able to interpret things and make it as dark as they want to, or make bring it back a little bit was very important to me, and also being real to the situation, not trying to dramatize anything, or try to play some things down, but really staying true. So we did, at the very beginning, I started speaking to some psychologists and trying to understand a survivor's perspective of things, what's the mental journey, particularly after the event, how does a person feel? You know, what's a trigger? What's, you know, what's going to cause some issues? But what is important for people, particularly family and friends, to know? And so dealing with Alea's journey as a survivor, and then dealing with Maddie, her friend, and how she reacts to it. You know, I really wanted Maddie to be kind of like a role model of how you should respond, what you should say, and not, you know, stick to kind of giving advice without saying this is what you should do. And then when the film was, you know, being made, I also was reaching out to people like Refuge and the National Hotline for Domestic Violence as well, and just kind of chatting with people. And, you know, at the end, in the credits, actually, we've got some helplines and some websites that people can go to if they resonate with the film. And also throughout the film as well, we've also been, it's all in the detail, but throughout the film, there's also some, you know, numbers and some websites that people can go to if they need to. And so that was, for me, one of the most important things, was making it real. And hoping to raise awareness and get people chatting.
You know what? It's interesting. I pick up on the last thing you said, because again, we will get a chance, I'm sure, to I'm sure you'll send me some details about the film where people can actually go and view it and stuff like that, and you know, hopefully pay to view it, because, you know, you guys have got to get paid, and I'll go into funding in a little bit. But it's interesting. We talk about the end there, and how you've made it, you've spoken to the right people, you've given the right advice to people. Because I spoke to one actor before, and he says, you know, that from an actor's perspective, it's sometimes difficult to get into those roles and then take yourself away from it. How did you do that with your crew? How did you do that? How did you tackle those?
Yeah, it was intense. And when we filmed the attack scene, we had minimal people on set. We only had the people that really needed to be there in terms of crew. And one of the things that I wanted to do is, because it's not graphic, it doesn't go into too much detail. It's you know, kind of the lead up, really. But the first thing that I did is, when I got Leona and Theo cast, is I just chucked them in a room together and I said, talk, you know, find out your boundaries. I'm not going to say my director's vision. I'm not going to say, you know, what I want from you. I want you guys first to know where your limits are. How comfortable are you? You know, because these are two people that didn't know each other. And, you know, this was literally when we filmed it, this was the first day they met. And so, that for me was actors first, and then we'll go from there. And then I kind of went in the room and had a conversation with the two of them. And then we mapped out, we rehearsed, we choreographed, we really tried to work with, you know, how people felt. And particularly with dealing with a heavy subject, it was very important to also, before shooting, kind of just talk to people involved, crew and cast, and just see if they're okay with this. And, you know, if there's anything that might upset them, then, you know, please let me know in particular. And just really being open and honest. And I think that's kind of the best policy, is just creating, you know, conversations and learning about people's boundaries, because it's so true. Sometimes, you know, you find you don't get the chance to kind of explore those boundaries a little bit. And, you know, some actors can be forced into doing things they don't want to do. So as a director, for me, it's very important to make sure that that's, you know, when dealing with things like, you know, such intense subject matters, it's making sure that everyone's okay first.
Yeah. It sounds like you've handled it well, and obviously, if people know their boundaries, then they know what they can and can't do. And again, it helps, as you said, set the tone, set the pace for everything. You will know where you stand. You will know what you can and can't do, and nobody oversteps that margin. Especially for people that are working together for the first time and meeting for the first time.
Yeah.
It's probably good to have those sort of conversations. And again, probably one of those things that people listening to this, that if they're trying to get into this field of work, will take on board and just say, you know what, I can't just say, well, it has to be this way. I do have to speak with my artists and find out, are they comfortable, and are they, is this something that they want to do, or how would they do it in a way that is safe and good for them?
Absolutely.
I said I would talk about funding because I know when you're starting out, funding is always can be difficult. If you don't mind me asking, how have you navigated that? How have you navigated getting funding, or where has your funding come from? I know you said you did lots of the stuff on social media has helped as well in terms of connections, but let's talk about how you've got some funding.
Yeah, I mean, today I've been, I've done a lot of crowdfunding, which has been very, very helpful. And I think it's such a great way of, kind of getting the ball rolling with the project and getting people talking about it as well. And then also just, getting little favors in from friends and family is also helpful. For me, one of the things I like to do is, because I do sometimes advertising work, like making advertising videos, and also from working before, just kind of having a little bit of savings in place to kind of put into my own projects. And there's also wonderful grants available from, for example, BFI has one. In Switzerland we have a couple of public grants as well. So you're just kind of reaching out into little areas, also contacts. You meet a lot of people on film sets as well who, very passionate about, projects, very passionate about bringing people up in the industry and giving people opportunities. And you meet people who are willing to put a little bit in here and a little bit in there. So it's really, asking people around you, if they don't mind. And I mean, films do have a reputation for being very pricey, but there are ways that you can, particularly when starting out, that you can rein it back in a little bit. And, you can find, if you find a group of like-minded people who are really passionate about a project, if you're really tight for funding, then, you can, work together and try and make it a more enjoyable time. And until you can get to the grants, until you can get to the raising the bigger money. Funding's a challenge. It's always been a challenge, and particularly for independent filmmakers, it's ever growing struggle. It's I guess my advice to people is, it's hang in there. It will happen. Just keep fighting for it. Don't be don't be apologetic. If you need a certain amount, ask for it. Research, find out, any organizations. Product placement is another one. I have a short film coming up that I'm producing called Colors Within, and we're using product placement in the film. Makeup's a huge element in the film, so we are collaborating with Lottie London, which is a wonderful makeup brand, and they are helping us with the film, and by allowing us to use their products, which they've very kindly supplied us with. So product placement's another thing, but if you can really get stuck into that and, reach out to brands and see if you can collaborate and stuff, it helps a lot. It might not seem it, but it really does. And Colors Within, we're also going to be crowdfunding that as well. So, use your network, use the power of social media. If you've got a cracking idea, then, someone will fund it. Don't give up. If there's a couple of no's, there'll be a yes eventually.
You kind of answered where I was going to go next, which was what are you currently working on? Without giving away too much, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I've got a couple projects on the go at the moment. So I've got my next one, which I'm filming in May, which is Colors Within, that I'm very lucky to be producing. It's a beautiful LGBTQ+ love story between a colorblind makeup artist and a model who has increased color vision, and we hope to raise awareness of tetrachromacy and achromatopsia as well, vision disabilities as well, to help talk about it and show that there's so many different ways of seeing things, and it's always a beautiful thing. So that we're in pre-production at the moment. We've just finished our casting. We did an open casting call about 2 weeks ago. So we've just started moving down the casting process, and we're in the final stages of that. And then we have a crowdfunding page coming out on Indiegogo in a couple of weeks' time, which we're very much looking forward to, because then we get to share more information about the project with everybody, and a bit about the story. And it's directed by Marlon Frank, and this will be her directorial debut. And it's written by Natalie Ekberg, who's just a fantastic writer, and she makes the most beautiful narratives and just uses words that just touch your heart. So it's going to be a lovely one, for sure. And then after that, I'm directing another film. It's called Coffee for Two, and it's a lovely story that's going to raise awareness about homelessness and kindness in others, and also loneliness. So all four of our characters experience loneliness in different ways, and so it's very much focusing on mental health. And and then hopefully making the jump very soon to my first feature film as a director. So we already started a little bit of work on that one, and that's going to be a very gripping one that hopes to raise awareness of asylum seekers, undocumented children in Europe, and just the treatment of migrants at the moment, and how we can do better.
Three very interesting, deep, thought-provoking topics there. And with the crowdfunding, you'll have to give me the details, and I'll let people know, and we'll put it on all the social media, and we'll spread it out there so we can help get you some crowdfunding for that. It's one of those questions that I ask people, because some people have different experiences depending on where in the world they are. So sometimes I was speaking to a guy in America, and he was saying that, he asked friends and he asked family, everybody's like, oh yeah, I'll get you some money. And then it turns out that nobody could get him some money. They all went missing. And then now he's doing successfully, or doing a lot more successfully. Everybody's like, oh yeah, hi, I'm back again. And it's just like, well, no, I've now cut you off from that part of my life, because when I needed you, you weren't there. And it's good that you've got a good circle of friends and people that you work with regularly that can all help and chip out, and as well as your own savings, of course. So yeah, it's always interesting to hear how people find that. So we know what you're currently working on. We will get the details out for that. Let's see. This is a tough one, but who have you worked with that has really surprised you? So think of who. I mean, you mentioned Rocket Man and stuff like that, and Dexter Fletcher, but who have you worked with? Whether it be lighting, camera person, what did I say, camera person? Somebody working on the cameras, somebody doing sound, somebody walking in the background, a supporting artiste. Who have you worked with that has really surprised you, and why? Let's get you thinking.
That is a tough one. I mean, I think every person I've worked with has kind of surprised me in one way or another, and you just learn so much from people. I think for me, the one person I probably learned the most with is the producer that I'm currently working with for Coffee for Two, and she's a wonderful girl called Bahia, and she's had a lot of experience, and she surprises me in many ways of just how, as a producer, if there's a roadblock or if there's a challenge, try it another way, try it this way, try it that way. And I mean, I don't know if it was a surprise, because I've always known she's very, very ambitious and very, very clever. But I think it surprised me that there's so many different ways of doing things, particularly from a production standpoint. And doesn't work out, try it this way, try it that way. And I think that from a production standpoint, I think that person surprised me the most, with just how many options there are, and how it's never a dead end.
A thinking person's person.
Absolutely. Try every scenario type of person, which is, you always need someone like that in your life.
Before we go, what's your message to somebody that's stepping into this arena? What would you say to somebody that wants to get involved, whether it be acting, whether it be setting up their own production company, whether it be doing lighting, sound, stunt person? What's your advice?
Just go for it. I think that's the one thing, is even if it feels scary, even if it feels intimidating, and you're not really sure how to do it, or maybe you don't know how it necessarily works in full, learning on the job is the best way to learn. And just doing it, being unapologetic, being bold and daring, and just following your dream and vision, and sharing your passion with with everyone around you is the best thing that you can do. And so if for anyone who wants to go into this industry, do it. Contact every person you can find, whether you know them or you don't know them. Send emails, call, pick up phones, just try it, try again. If you get a no, look for your yes. And just believe anything's possible and keep fighting till it becomes possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sara Wilkins. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
We will have all the details from Sara all over the website, all over the social media. Please, 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 for the crowdfunding, please donate. Starting off in this industry is hard, and even for those that are doing well, it is still hard, and every penny counts. So do donate. Check out all of her work, and she will obviously keep us updated with how the next 3 projects go. We'll get you back at some point to find out how these 3 projects have gone.
I'd be delighted.
Just update us, and especially the feature film, because we're quite looking forward to that one. Because
me too. It's gonna be gripping. It's gonna be meaty. It's gonna be a tearjerker. We'll bring tissues next time.
So Sara Wilkins, thank you. They call me Stepney. I've managed to get this right the past few times. Now I'm doing well, because usually I get that bit wrong of who I am. I don't know why, because it's who I am. But I got it right. So cha-ching. Sara Wilkins, thank you very much. And this is behind the scenes. Take care. Again, check out all the details, all the links and everything, and get donating and watch those shows. Thank you very much, Sara. Say goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.